In last night's episode, Udo gets milked. I watch a group of 20-somethings breastfeed, and Jeremiah does this.
Throughout my time as a man, I've noticed that men often feel some sort of inexplicable shame when showing any interest in a specific TV genre. And that genre that I want to couple up with is...
Oh my god.
Reality television. It almost seems written into the male social contract that this form of media is somehow below us, but then we also be watching this.
We're the only friends we've got. Rick and Morty.
But as time has passed and I've gotten more passive exposure to the genre, I've learned that this social contract is boring, and people who adhere to it are boring. 2 weeks ago, my fiance told me that Love Island USA Season 7 would be coming out, and she was very excited about it because it would be on almost every night. And while I was excited for her, I was excited that she was excited, I didn't necessarily feel any interest in watching myself. And at first, I would just catch a glimpse of a scene here and a glimpse of a scene there just when I was walking by. And then sometimes I would catch a half an hour of one episode while I was working on the couch. But then last week, I found myself moving my work laptop from my office to the couch because I knew that she would be out there watching it, and I caught an entire episode. And social contract enjoyers, you might want to cover your eyes and ears because...
Oh my god. I get it.
I think I might be hooked. I have bits and pieces of the show that I haven't seen, hostage to the wretched contract, but I'll summarize from memory just what I've passively experienced so far. I'll start off with Ace, who's currently with Shelly, I think, and he was with Amaya previously, but it didn't really seem like he actually wanted her. I think I actually watched the recoupling that he did, and I was kind of surprised that he picked her, because it was pretty obvious, even to someone who really didn't watch, that he wasn't really into it. And then there's Austin, whose unshaven nipple hairs distract me every time he's on screen. This dude really has some golden retriever energy, and I don't know if he'll actually make it very far in this show, as he just kind of has a friendly and like goofy vibe. He kind of doesn't really have that X factor that I feel like is sexy that would push you to the end. And then we have Alandria, who somehow out-assed Megan the Stallion a couple days ago, and she seems to be the wise sage of the bunch. I think she's been with Taylor the whole time, and they both seem to be pretty into it. It seemed like his only real competition for her was this hunky guy named Jalen, who I saw approximately 4 minutes of screen time for. He kind of arrived and left before I could even sneak my work laptop back to the couch again. And then we have Nick and Sierra, who, if they stick together, seem to be two pretty level-headed people who could really make it to the end. They're my personal favorite for now. But we'll talk about why my confidence in them has kind of been shaken later in this video. Next, we have Hannah with Pepe. I know very little about these two, other than that Pepe just reminds me of this frog every time they say his name. I think Hannah really outshines him in this couple, and she'll probably move on to someone else soon. And then there's Iris, who, while she is pretty, she also seems to have a pretty muted personality. I think even Megan the Stallion tried to kind of get her out of her shell and say something to her. It doesn't seem like she's super comfortable there. She seems to be pretty into the new bombshell TJ, while pretty much all of the other guys seem to be into the other newbie, Andrina. And then we have the fallen soldiers, including the aforementioned Jalen. Then there's Charlie, who I only really remember for doing this.
To know her a bit more.
Hello,
Yo,
Charlie. Are you looking for me?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me know when you're ready, yeah? Because I still need to smoke you on table tennis.
And it seemed like people were pretty upset when he left. And then, finally, there was or Bella, which I did watch the recoupling in which she was not picked. Nick chose Sierra instead of her, and that felt like the first real juice of the season. And it seems like he probably made the right choice for himself, for now. And that should do it for the cast here, so without further ado... Kidding. You actually thought that I forgot about Huda and Jeremiah? No, I don't think so. These two are absolute cinema. For essentially the entire season, my fiance has complained about Huda to me in these exasperated rants, preying on her downfall, saying she wants her gone, and I only have one response. No, you don't.
Oh, she just flipped somebody off.
And really, I feel like no one should. This is reality TV, and she is absolutely hilarious, chaotic, and is the perfect heel for the season. What more could you want? I'll talk about her a bit more later, but I think the long story short is I am in this show for the long haul. With that being said, I am going to start hitting y'all with some of the recaps from episode 16. So, without further ado, in last night's episode, Huda gets milked, I watch a group of 20-somethings breastfeed, and Jeremiah does this.
No cap.
Sorry about the accent. So to start off the episode, we have the guys who are all circled up getting to know the new bombshell, Andrina, and I don't think that Jeremiah could have thought he was slick with this.
You're looking for.
My type is definitely like foreign, Latina, driven, family-oriented, all that, funny.
Are you cupping me?
No.
And in the same conversation, I said earlier that Nick and Sierra are kind of my power couple who I think if they stuck together they would win it all, but stuff like this is making me kind of worried.
Are you closed off? Are you open?
No, I'm definitely open.
Okay.
I didn't mean it like that.
Mark my words now. If he pursues this and leaves Sierra, he will regret it. On the other side of the villa, all of the girls circle up to get to know TJ, who seems to be reading from the soft boy script. And then Andrina pulled Jeremiah and from the girls' chat, TJ pulled Sierra, which seemed to go very well. And I think Nick should really start sweating. From these two new bombshell conversations, it seems like Andrina seems to be falling for Jeremiah's... And now Sierra is definitely not closed off after this conversation, even though her and Nick just had sex. Thought it was kind of funny, this conversation between Alandria and Taylor. She seemed to be probing for what her future with him might kind of look like, and I'm not really sure she was even convinced by this little side interview comment.
Just nurturing that connection we both have day by day, conversation by conversation. I can see myself being a little country little wife, living on a farm, maybe.
I know that the hunky guy Jalen was into her and he just kind of came and went, but I feel like as soon as someone who's really spicy shows up and starts paying her attention, I don't know, I feel like she might jump ship. I don't think that she's super locked into Taylor. Then we saw Huda pulling Pepe for a chat in possibly the most awkward way I can physically imagine.
Okay. He's probably in the bathroom or something. I think that's what you said. Yeah, he's in the bathroom. You what? Me? Yeah, come on.
And then said this.
Honestly, having chats with people again feels kind of good. It feels weird, but it feels good at the same time. It's like, damn, okay, I can actually do this.
She's acting like she's been married and completely off of the market for like a decade and she just got divorced, and is not acting like she just screamed at the entire cast and went, "Can we just talk? I promise I'm not mad" mode just last episode. Can you see why she should stay? Then over in Soul Ties, TJ and Iris had a very dry conversation to the point where I actually got some work done during this scene. And then they kiss, and I'm not too interested in these two, to be honest. And then we have Nick and Andrina chatting again. I think he is signing a deal with the devil here. I think he should stay in his current couple. Not calling Andrina the devil. It's a metaphor. I really enjoyed this scene where all of the girls just kind of chat amongst themselves about our very dramatic queen. This is why she should stay, once again. We have a shot of these shorts holding on for dear life. And then we have a scene of Nick thinking about baseball for 25 seconds. TJ makes tea or something for Sierra next, which I don't think Nick is too happy about. And I'm confused why he kind of behaved the way he did in the challenge later in this episode if he feels this way. There's some kind of mixed messaging here. Can't help but feel like the dude is kind of dropping the ball. And then we move on to the challenge of this episode. And after some banger challenges recently, they now have perhaps the grossest one I've seen. What's Your Beef, where they spit in each other's mouths and make out with other people outside of their couple, and then kiss under a shower of milk. I kind of found myself wondering if it's 2% or skim. Kind of laughing at how like Austin was kind of performing during the challenge with Amaya calling him babe and baby the whole time. They're a pretty new couple, and it's pretty obvious that she's acting pretty attached for his comfort, and this will be confirmed later in the episode.
We'll try not to make babies here. Love you, Molly.
Chill.
Okay, with that side interview, it seems like maybe Austin has a point. It kind of looks like his aunt was just kissing him on the cheek. Since Huda is alone, she picked Pepe the Frog, which I don't really see going anywhere. If TJ isn't interested in her, I think she's honestly screwed in terms of finding someone to couple up with. I wouldn't be too surprised if she was feeling pretty desperate at this point. Still hashtag Team Huda, if people still use hashtags these days. And ultimately, this was kind of a strange challenge. I think that I would give this one, I don't know, maybe a C tier out of the ones that I've seen so far. And after the challenge, we have Huda trying to rationalize picking Pepe as she realizes how screwed her position in the house really is to the sage couple of the villa, Taylor and Olandria. Austin talks behind Amaya's back about how close she's acting already. I can't imagine being on the show in her position and seeing this footage afterwards because he's not being very subtle about it. Honestly, kind of a snake for this. And between the nipple hair and this kind of behavior, I'm kind of wanting him gone. Then we have Huda trying to clear the air with Hannah now, trying to rationalize it to her, who apparently has been there for her more than pretty much anyone else. So I'd say watch out for this situation as it feels like a brewing shitstorm. There's no way this does not implode. And then we see the editors cooking. They have Sierra and TJ chatting at the same time as Nick and Andrina are chatting. This is definitely going to be a big kind of like climactic showdown soon here. And I'll say it again. I think that Nick is about to perform a generational bag fumble. I feel like I'm watching mom and dad start fighting. Next, we have Huda and TJ that go into soul ties. And this chat just really doesn't hit quite the same after watching him in here with Iris. You can hear and see that Huda's like desperation is palpable as she scrambles to get into a couple. Please God, keep this woman on the show. And the episode ends with Huda getting a hug, and we got Jeremiah getting a kiss, all in soul ties. And the very end is they show that we have Amaya, and she is actively picking up on the distance between her and Austin, and he just kind of completely denies it and just like brushes it off, even though she clearly senses what's happening and he was talking about it to someone else. I feel like this was his chance to be a cool guy and just tell her how he's feeling, but he didn't, and I feel like this is also going to brew and probably boil over at some point. And that's it for episode 16. Here are my current thoughts. If I had to pick who should go home at the next recoupling, I would probably pick Austin. He seems chill, but he's kind of just has like friend vibes, I feel like, with most of the women here, and him talking behind Amaya's back and then not confirming that to her when she correctly intuited what he was feeling, just kind of didn't sit right with me. Still have Nick and Sierra as my favorite couple. I think that they could go and win the whole thing, especially after he just had the best 25 seconds of his life. But I'm getting very nervous, I can't lie. And last but not least, I feel the strongest about this, Huda must stay. I get that people are mad at her. I get that she's acted in some pretty crazy ways, but she must stay. You won't realize what you have until she's gone. Trust me, she has to stay. I hope that everybody enjoys the upcoming episode. And I guess there's nothing left to say, but long live Hutta.